So yeah, my final thoughts. Again, I loved it. I thought this game was an absolute banger. Um, it was an absolute improvement across the board from its predecessor. They took everything from the first game and just made it better in this game. More big fights, more like epic side stuff. They tied a lot of like threads together really well, i.e., the side quest with Sigrin's past. The whole like combat system I really like a lot in these games, and I feel like the additions that they made in this are also really good. I'm gonna try to be a little more vague just in case, so it's not too spoiler heavy. Um, Actually, it's really pretty like cut and dry. I just think the game was amazing. The graphics are good. Rarely do I care so much about single like voice lines as I did in this game. Good God, Kratos had a bunch of fucking good epic like one-liners. The Kratos Thor fights great each time they happened. The character design on everybody almost across the board was really cool. Some were a little uneventful, I guess is the best way to say it, but I wouldn't say they were bad. I feel like a certain death by a certain somebody was absolutely unnecessary, and I feel like if anything, it was like it might be a plot point for a third game. Oh, it was one of those things where you didn't actually see him die, and in my opinion, it was avoidable. But that aside, I think the ending was also really vague. Like they're definitely trying to give you grounds for a third game for sure. Which I already think they announced that it was going to be like a series of 3 games. I just hope that like this game had like a lot of large giant creatures, but not so much that you fought like in the old God of War games. And the like the old God of War games, you had a lot more interaction with those creatures. In this one, it was more just like background stuff, set piece type things, so you just talked to them rather than actually like chopped them up into bits. I know it's hard to do, but I feel like if anybody's gonna do that kind of a fight well, it would be God of War and their designers. That said, though, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can see why everybody thought this would be Game of the Year. It absolutely is worthy of it. And I don't think Game of the Year should really ever be relegated to just one single title. And this year would especially prove that, because almost every game that was put up for the nomination was absolutely worthy of being called the Game of the Year. And I can see how in each specific case, a person might say that each game was the Game of the Year to them. I have friends that didn't touch Elden Ring, but they played this. That makes perfect sense. I can totally see that. And like I said, each game was deserving of it. This game was an absolute fucking masterpiece. And it's games like this that really, I feel, breathe life into the game industry as a whole, no matter what the genre might be. Because when you have this level of attention to every bit of the game, it really comes through. Like this final product was like, I'm not a huge God of War fan, but I am so fucking glad that I played this game. The the way that this game kind of guides you along, but also offers plenty of extra content, felt so natural, and it didn't feel like you like, okay, here's a bunch of side quests, go bang all these out. Each side quest was unique. Each side quest had like depth to it. It had a good it had like a tie into the overall lore. The way they took the existing mythology and then molded it into this universe that they could make into a game in its own universe was brilliant. I really like the way that they've tied, you know, Greek mythology, Norse mythology together without making it feel like redundant. Obviously, two gods of war, it's a little like that's what Odin was, but it totally makes sense how things went down. And I really hope the whole rumor about them doing Egypt and stuff is true, because good God, they could do so much with that as well. But yeah, I'm kind of just rambling at this point. I thoroughly fucking enjoyed it. I thought this game was a triumph in many senses of the word. It was a great game as a video game itself. It's a great game for the medium. Like I said, it because this game did so well, I feel like it does well for all video games, if that makes sense. Because when you see like stuff like this and you don't know a lot about games, or perhaps you're an investor and you see stuff like this, that means, or that makes you more motivated to help produce other games of this quality, no matter what it is. If you're a designer for a indie studio with like 5 employees and you see this, you're gonna try to do everything in your power to make your product capture that same feeling of just wow that this game made. Not necessarily in the same visual department or anything like that. They're not trying to copy it, but you know, everybody that makes their game wants to give each player that level of satisfaction that you would get from a game like this. And again, I could see how everybody would tout this as one of the greatest games of all time, for sure. For sure, for sure. There was like almost 0 bugs. I don't even think I saw any. The only ever thing I ever saw on this was clipping issues, and that's really neither here nor there for me. All the combat was great. All of the visuals and like the designs on the monsters and stuff, so plentiful. That was one of the drawbacks for the first game, is the amount of stuff you fought was kind of small. Not super diverse. And yeah. So ultimately, I think this game was an absolute fucking banger. 10 out of 10. Must play. If you have the ability to play it, please do. You will not regret it, especially if you played the first and enjoyed it. And yeah, that's about it on my final thoughts. Go play it. It's an amazing goddamn game.